Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Supreme Decisions Legal Minute podcast. And I am your host, Supreme Decisions. Now, I hope you guys had an opportunity to enjoy the technical live broadcast dump I did yesterday for the podcast. No, I am not counting those towards the 25. However, I'm going to need a miracle to work on these because today's the 26th. And I did a little bit of reflecting, and I actually kind of did that on yesterday with that dump because most of them came from during the pandemic, 2020. And the reason being was because a lot of us consider that a lost year. But even in that, it offered me an opportunity to see then what I'm doing now. Because I spoke about the studio. And then, if you remember earlier that year, we had a studio in which we were working, things happened, the world shut down, blah, 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 next chapter. Well, the problem with that next chapter is we're still writing the first one. Well, that allowed me to think about something. It allowed me to think about what's important not only for us, what's important for the brand, but what's important for the legacy. And the most important thing right this second is what's most important for the legacy and the idea of what is needed to be successful doing this. And this means the DIY, defending yourself. So what I came up with was, weaponizing your defense. That's something that we're going to do. That's what all of this is about. But these are pretty much the details. Because I gave you something that a lot of people don't like. I told you to do a detailed discovery. Why? Because the foundation of any legal defense, whether it's criminal or civil, begins with actually knowing what you're defending against. Now, the reason I speak against doing affidavits is because, one, you don't even have to provide an alibi. You have the right to remain silent. Two, you don't even have to explain yourself as an adult. Everything that's being said about you has to be proven because you have the right to be innocent. But these are, forsaken facts that most people don't actually indulge in. And when you actually begin to defend yourself the right way, people look at you and think that you're crazy. Something's wrong with you. As police say, why do you have to make things so difficult? But I constantly tell you, police don't know how to solve crimes. They're not trained to do so. So when we look at cold cases or we look at even shows like The First 48, there's a reason why they call it The First 48. And one of the comedians, it actually had me rolling because he said, in the first 48, after the first 48 hours of a crime, chances of it being solved diminish greatly. But then we all joke about, when we're looking at the first 48, how the crimes are actually solved. They're solved because someone tells them who did it, where the weapons are, basically gives them the entire case because they have no clue of how to do it themselves. but I'm giving you everything you need to be self-sufficient. That's why I'm not popular. So how I just drew that in there? Because when I'm giving you something for self-defense, everybody's not going to have an opportunity to use this. And everything that you have an opportunity to become privy to, you're probably not going to use. Because I often tell people, law is not subjective. It's situational. Which is why you have the context of Terry v. Ohio. Everybody knows it deals with search and seizure. Yet I give you 7 different situations in which Terry v. Ohio applies. I've sat down. I actually did a podcast on it. And here's the great part about it. That's when we learned about one of those applications, which would be a police officer who we now know, because it's been verified, I've given you the sources, that a police officer is a voluntary servant of the people. I'm going to say that one more time. A police officer is a voluntary servant of the people. And as a servant, they are amenable to you at all times. As a servant, they are amenable to you at all times. So giving you instructions absent a crime is a Terry v. Ohio violation. It's a 4th Amendment violation. And it's called a show of authority stop. I even gave you part of that instruction on was that Sergeant Inman, the Richmond County Police Department police officer, where she held her foot in the door without having a warrant, admitting to not having a warrant, admitting to not being there because of an emergency, actually barging into someone's house without exigent circumstances. You remember all that? Because I'm going to actually get deeper into that, because I'm going to do a whole reaction video, I guess that's what they're called, on that one situation. It's a 3-minute video. It'll probably be a 30-minute video whenever I go break it down, because I'm going to break it down legally. But most of us have no idea that Terry v. Ohio covered the situation of show of authority stops. Because I even gave you remember, the ideas, the Tommy Sotomayor questions. A lot of people got to, well, why you listening to Tommy? Tommy this, Tommy that. Tommy just talks about. Nobody cares. Because again, Tommy offered substance. But he also offered an opportunity for you to think and even open your eyes. He offered you a red pill moment. That's what it actually should have been. The red pill Tommy Sotomayor question. Because he asked the question of, when did a servant become more powerful than the master? When did a servant's life become more important than the person they are serving? Those are questions that we have to ask. Because when I told you, you are the most powerful person, I constantly say that. I even had a young lady who was a paralegal told, well, that's not true. But then I give you actualities. Like, the police officer is a voluntary servant of the people. As a defendant, you are the people. The prosecutor is voted in and the voice of the people. Guess who the people are again? You are the people. You are paying your defense attorney, whether they're a people defender or defender of the public, which you are the public. So they're working for your defense. Then you have the judge, who's supposed to be impartial, but is also voted in by the people. But yet they'll tell you that all of these people that are working on your behalf are more powerful than you, when yet they have no power unless you give it to them. Yes, I pause for dramatic effect. You know, I have to do that every now and again. And that's why I wanted to do something, because I ran across this syllabus of McCoy v. Louisiana. Because for whatever reason, no matter how many times I tell people this, how many times I give you the Supreme Court case that was decided May 14th, 2018. So it wasn't like it was years ago. This is a very recent case. This is something that is very tangible. It's almost local. It's farm to table right now. This is the stuff that I'm giving you. This is why the food becomes so rich for you. Because I'm not giving you something that, because a lot of, well, you're giving us outdated cases. Yet they're still in force because they're being reinforced by cases being decided in 2022. But I'll get back into that. Because it's cool. I get it. Because I love those that try to show me how smart they are. Because even in the context of the things I speak about, it's not subjective. It's situational. Which is why a lot of times when people give you blanket statements, they don't work. When they give you blanket usage of Terryville, Ohio, it doesn't work. Because it doesn't work in every situation. But you also have to understand not only the rules of the game, you have to understand how to play the game itself. And then you have to understand how to play the game to win. That's why you call me. And because it was at one point I was thinking, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't give out so much information because that's gonna hurt me. Then I looked at it, I can give a child a handgun. I can put bullets in the chamber. Doesn't mean that child's gonna know how to use that handgun. But at the same time, the ideas. I've got the broad shoulders. I'm willing to put a little bit more responsibility on these shoulders. I get it. I'm good. So that's why I'm going deeper into you, because it not only reinforces the things I've already said, but it also allows you to understand I'm playing this game at a different level. Because even when I say I don't play law. I'm the Deontay Wilder of this thing. He don't play boxing. I don't play law. When I wake up in the morning, it's law. When I go down to Starbucks, it's law. Even while I'm taking pictures, it's law. When I'm sitting down watching the Lakers lose, it's law. When I go to sleep, it's law. It's my lifestyle. And the greatest part about all of this is the fact that I get to give it and share it with you guys. This is also something that's going to live beyond me. I'm actually even impressed that it's going and living beyond the borders of the United States. It blows my mind to be in 41 countries. Well, 42, because I think that I actually got a call from a young man that's in Nigeria, and it was hilarious. He goes, "Your podcast is now on Nigerian radio." And I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Is there anything you need me to do?" "Nope. Just letting you know." And he gave me his name and all that good stuff. But I was just blown away, because when I look at the places that my podcast is airing and airing the most, it blows my mind. But then I started looking at travel records. There are people that are coming into this country that's listening to me because they're wanting to understand how to play the game. Just in case. I'm their insurance policy. You know, because if you're going to get insurance on your hotel room, you're going to get insurance on your plane ticket, you might as well get insurance on your liberty. And I'm going to give you a couple more because I've run across a couple of things lately that's amazing to me. Because I had someone tell me that I'm helping. You're not God. You know, thank you for acknowledging that I'm not. But at any point, I don't remember on any of my podcasts or even on any video that I've done, one of the 500 videos, saying that I was. But when I spoke about it and I gave context, it allowed me to see, because even when I do speak about God in whatever form that you want to believe it in, I'm speaking as a vessel, not as the actual. Say that one more time. I'm speaking as a vessel, not as an actual. Because you remember I talked about the tools. I even talked about one of the vessels that I listened to, one of the tools that I worked with. That's Tupac. He said, I'm not going to be the one to change the world. But if I keep talking about how dirty it is, somebody's going to clean it up, and I'm going to spark that voice. I can look at a lot of people that pockets put the battery in the back of. I can look at it. I can see that spark. I'm living as part of that spark. Some of the things he spoke about, I'm actually gone through. Not only gone to, I'm gone through. And that's why I feel that this is not only important, but it's a necessity. Because one of the things that actually get to me is the understanding that I had a 16-year-old that experienced police, I don't even know what you would call it. Police profiling in his own front yard. He doesn't live in the hood, but he was on his face in his front yard because he was talking to someone and the police didn't like it. But I can also tell you, one of the first people that has ever helped me is Officer Austin. I'll never forget him. Officer Austin helped me whenever I started playing basketball. He helped me with my mental aspect of the game. And then whenever something went down at my school that was kind of heinous, Officer Austin was the one that came and got me and said, hey, go home. You're leaving school today. I'm going to clean this up for you. I also can talk about Andre Jackson, former Sheriff Andre Jackson. When I got out of prison, former Sheriff Andre Jackson made sure I was able to get a job after receiving 30 rejections because I was overqualified. Sheriff Andre Jackson made sure, even after I got that job, that I never needed another job again, because even to this day, Sheriff Andre Jackson finds a way to call me. Hey, how you doing? Do you need something? Do you need some work? I got some work for you. I got this business that I need help running. I got a business for you to start. That's why it was incredible to me whenever they would say, you're anti-police. You're anti-government. And that's why it was so difficult for them to actually look at me and actually hold anything, because I still had the young Jeezy mentality. You're trying to assassinate my character, but the problem is I'm not acting. That's why I'm able to sit down and reflect as I am right now. Not because I don't like police officers. I don't like the way our system is currently constructed. Because those that think they are in power. I'm going to say that one more time. Those that think or want you to believe they are in power are in fact my footstools. I apologize for not being able to swallow the pills that you're giving me. I apologize for not accepting things as you're telling me just because you're saying it. I apologize. Because when I understand that it's my light that frightens people the most, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Now, we're talking about power and we're talking about employees. All of those are putting us in boss position. I think that's what the young folks say now. We bossing up. That's what this is. The reflection allowed me to see a means of bossing up. Because when we're talking about McCoy v. Louisiana, you know, May 14, 2018, not an old case, it held the Sixth Amendment guarantees the defendant the right to choose the objective of his or her defense and to insist that his counsel refrain from admitting guilt, even when the counsel's experience-based view is that confessing guilt offers the defendant the best chance to avoid the death penalty. Just said a lot, right? Because it sounds complex. But you remember what I constantly tell you. The Sixth Amendment guarantees each criminal defendant the assistance of counsel for his defense. The assistance of counsel for his defense. The Sixth Amendment guarantees each criminal defendant the assistance of counsel. Because you remember what I told you when we're talking about going into appeals and we're talking about the detailed discovery, because we're laying the foundation. I keep telling you, piranha don't eat piranha, right? But everybody doesn't grasp that. I'm going to go hire me one of these piranhas and I'm going to watch him eat and I'm going to pay him less than $50,000 and he's going to work for me. Guess who they're eating off of? Guess who they're eating off of? But anyway, in the appeal, the number one grounds for appeal is not legal error. It's ineffective assistance of counsel. It's ineffective assistance of counsel. It's ineffective assistance of counsel. That's number one. Number two is legal error. Number one is ineffective assistance of counsel. Why? Because we forget who we are. We turn down our light because it's bothering those that are around us. Because I actually had a friend of mine. Again, I actually spoke about it. I spoke about the fact that his attorney lied to his face. And then when confronted with those facts of the lie, asked him to his face, Why do you want to bother the DA with that? And then when he lost his case, the first thing that popped in his head was, why didn't he bother the DA with that? Especially when I gave him the path to winning. Why didn't he allow his light to shine? Because again, McCoy v. Louisiana says it's his prerogative. He's Bobby Brown in New Edition. It was his performance to show up for, and he chose to not even perform. He allowed someone else to speak for him. He allowed someone else to dictate his life to him. Whoops. Did I say something? I think I just said something that he allowed someone else to dictate his life to him. They don't call you slave no more. They call you criminal. Anyway, sometime when somebody's speaking, even if it's over a beat, my son, he's giving you something of substance. Just because I'm talking about God did, you have to understand. Jay-Z was giving you something. I dumbed down for my audience and doubled my dollars. You criticize me for it, yet you holler. Because the context of it, right? Because as long as he was speaking in Ebonics and sagging his pants and wearing all these big chains, everybody was buying his albums. Dumbed down for my audience and doubled my dollars. Because now what you have to understand is the context. I had to shift my ideas of what it is that I'm doing with this platform to understand how to grow this platform. Because if I allowed and waited for the actual support to come, I'd starve to death. Because I get so many, I love you, I appreciate you, brother. I don't get any cash apps. I very rarely get woo, good looking out, brother. I appreciate that one. And actually, I'm going to shout out Rudy on that one. I appreciate you because Rudy will throw one in there every now and then. You know, it's a lot of lunch money that's going on with me and Rudy. I appreciate you, brother. But there's supposed to be at least 6,000 people that follow me just on YouTube. There's another 5,000 that follow me on Facebook. There's another, 10,000 that follow me on. You know, I can go on and on all these platforms. But the simple fact that I can count the support when I'm not dumbing down for my audience lets me understand that we would rather allow someone to dictate to us what it is that we should have or we are allowed to have. I'm going to say that one. He allowed someone to determine what was going to happen in his life instead of taking charge of it. Whenever I did the videos about the man, I talked about self-sufficiency. No one wanted to hear that. Even Killer Mike said, you know what? You're tired of the white man. You're tired of the white land. You know what? Cool. Here's your 40 acres and a mule. You have to cultivate and build on it yourself, and it's yours. No one stayed more than 6 months. Because it's easy. It's easy to be up for the challenge when there's no objection. When there's no resistance. When there's no stress. When there is nothing there that would cause loss. But when I tell you it's your responsibility, your defense is your prerogative. Your defense is your business. Your defense is your life. If you aren't willing to fight for your life, neither am I. But McCoy v. Louisiana states that you are the one in charge, not your employee. Not You're a defender of the public, not the person that you're paying to defend you. You make the determination. Because I actually had someone call me the other day, and it was quite hilarious. They asked me, if you do a couple motions for me, what should I do with them? I said, all right, well, I'm gonna send them with instructions. They then tell me, well, I'm not going to use this motion. Can I get my money back? And I said, absolutely, as soon as you send me my time back. Because what you're paying for are the instructions. What you're paying for is the guidance. What you're paying for is my time. So once I give that to you, what are we refunding? Especially when you're choosing not to follow the guidance you paid for. But then don't get upset, because again, that exact same person did not use the motions I gave them, did not follow the instructions I gave them. That person then lost his case, and then he was upset with me. And I asked him, did you find? No, I didn't. Did you get this after the verdict? No, I didn't. I said, then I'm not sure what we're doing, because it's written down. You are responsible for you. Whatever your level of fight for you is, always understand mine is 30 levels lower. And also understand, whenever you're asking me to guide you, I'm using you at that moment as you are me. I'm doing what I would do in your situation. The instructions I give you are the instructions I would follow in that situation. That's why I don't do templates. Oh, let me put together this template, say you 300, because I literally just said law is not subjective. It's situational. I even gave you an example of Terry v. Ohio, because you can't use blanket holding in every situation, because there are changes that happen. Because even Terry v. Ohio states that an officer giving you instructions absent a crime is a show of authority stop, because a servant can't give a master instructions. I'll let that sink in, because I don't think I've said that enough. Because again, just like I said, I didn't even realize I had like 9 or 10 videos on discovery. But now let me get back to this, because the Sixth Amendment guarantees each criminal defendant the assistance of counsel for his defense. The defendant does not surrender control entirely to counsel. The defendant does not surrender entirely control to counsel. The Sixth Amendment, in granting the accused personally the right to make his defense, which then gives you the assistance of counsel. You are getting an assistant. And even if that assistant is an expert, they are still an assistant. You are still responsible for your defense. We can tie it up in all kind of nice little bows. We can, as I was told, I could say it nicer. Well, see, that person that's sitting beside you, that's telling you these things, he's your employee. She's your employee. It's not their prerogative, it's yours, because it's your life. You make the decision, not them. And when they don't want to do it, they'll well, I even did a video of a Florida attorney who said, that discovery, that's sovereign citizen stuff. I did an entire video, showed his law office, said his name. I did a 2-part. I said his name, showed the email. I then showed the motion. I then showed the code for Florida that this attorney has to follow for discovery. I then showed the federal code for discovery, which is pretty much blanket. It was amazing. My motion, the Florida organic code for discovery, and the federal code for discovery, all of those matched. So when that attorney was then confronted with, again, the facts, he told the judge, hey, I just need to get off the case because we have differences. Why? Because piranha don't eat piranha. He was being told to fight back with everything he had against his friends for $1,000. I went to his wedding. Remember, I spoke about a young lady here in El Paso. Cop felt her up. She asked for the video. Her attorney said, why would we bother the DA with that? Maybe because the cop is not doing something lawful. Maybe he shouldn't be doing a pat down on women. Maybe it's not the first time he's done this. Maybe he's a known liar. But piranha don't eat piranha. And she accepted that response and then was convicted and put on probation for 2 years for something she never did. Let that sink in. But I also told you about in the stress test. Had my homeboy went to prison 5 years to testify against me in my RICO trial, and he couldn't think of the crime he had committed. Do you understand? It's easy to talk about all of this. Right now, it's super easy. But the context of the ability, you know what? Because I hate getting off subject, but I like to give you kind of little add-ons, because for me, I believe that it makes it a little easier for you to actually understand some of this long-winded shit that I'm talking about. We had a conversation because 2 weeks ago, Anthony Davis was considered, those that don't know, he's power forward / center for the Los Angeles Lakers NBA, right? And Anthony Davis was absolutely dominating for 2 straight weeks the entire league. Anthony Davis propelled himself into the MVP conversation. He had actually become without a doubt, front runner for MVP. And then on cue, he injured himself or was injured. Now all of a sudden, nobody even talks about those 2 weeks that he did, right? Stephen A. Smith was asked directly about Anthony Davis and his playing ability. Stephen A. said it doesn't matter what his athletic ability is. The most important ability you have is availability. That goes beyond sports, because even whenever I talk about this, I talk about law. Confidence is made through preparation. But avoiding confrontation is not what this is. This is an adversarial system, and in order for it to be an adversarial, there has to be confrontation. You have to have an adversary. There is no sheet of paper that's going to get you a get out of jail free card every time you do something or you're accused of something. That I wish the world worked like. That's not how this works. Especially if you are dependent on the system. I'm going to say that one more time because I want to say it for those in the back. You have to be willing to look the devil in the eye each and every time. That's why one of the most important things is to be available. Because your greatest fears will be checked. They're going to press it. Any fight back against the system, they're going to do something. There's going to be a retaliation. Hence why they actually have it as an illegal act if there is a retaliatory situation. Because the system itself knows they are known to retaliate against those that fight back. Most bullies don't just accept the punching in the mouth. Sometimes you got to hit 2 or 3 bullies in the mouth. Sometimes you got to keep hitting the bully in the mouth. Sometimes you have to enjoy hitting the bully in the mouth. Sometimes you have to want nothing more than to keep hitting that bully in the mouth until it hurts. And then you hit him some more. But at the end of the day, your most important ability is not just preparation. Your most important ability is actually availability. Showing up, showing them there is no fear. Let them look in your eyes. Because one of my favorite things is watching, because I've been telling you guys, every Saturday night there's going to be a fight in my house, right? Because I'm either be part of one or I'm going to watch one. But there's going to be a fight. So when you understand the context of what happens, one of the things that UFC has even found a means of profiting from is the face-off. And they always ask them right afterwards, what did you see in his eyes? What did you see in his eyes? Why is that important? Because the eyes are the windows to the soul. When you are willing to look the devil in the eye, because I'm gonna give you something else. Because even my father, as much as I didn't like him, one thing he always told me is like, never be afraid to look someone directly in their eyes. And when I tell you that is uncomfortable, oh my God, that is one of the most uncomfortable feelings. Oh my God, it is super uncomfortable just to look somebody in the eye, unless you're willing to take everything from them. Then it's nothing more satisfying than to watch them melt in front of you. Because you being uncomfortable, that means nothing. But you showing up makes them uncomfortable, knowing if they fuck up, they slip up once, it's night-night. Why? Because I even talked about the prosecutor making a conscious choice after the police officer made a conscious choice. Now, the conscious choice will be you allowing someone else to speak for you because they are an assistant. They are not the end-all be-all. Why? Because McCoy v. Louisiana does not give up all of your ability to speak. You do not surrender control to counsel. Because if your counsel messed up, your assistant messes up. You have the right to rectify it because you are the captain. You are the captain now. Didn't even need Tom Hanks. You are the captain now. And even in this, I want you to understand something. I'm going through this. And the biggest thing is, I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to not only shine and do all the things that they would love to do and how they love to do it and who they love to do it with. I want to make sure you understand that you are more powerful than you could ever believe you are. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm trying to give you. That's what we're building towards. Because even if, I want to give you something, because even Farrat v. California, The lawyer's province is trial management, but some decisions are reserved for the client, including whether to plead, waive the right to jury, testify on one's behalf, and forego an appeal. I'm going to say that one more time. Farrah v. California. The lawyer's province is trial management. Now, I'm going to stop right there real quick. One of the things I tell everyone, my job is simple. It's expectation management. What does that mean? I understand all the stuff that you've been told in the land of should. I'm that person that's rooted in reality. The more than likelies. I'm going to give you the actualities of numbers. I'm going to give you the context of where and what you should expect and when you should expect it. And if it doesn't happen, great, on to the next. But more than likely, I'm going to give you everything that's necessary. When a lawyer is giving you something, it is for trial, which no one wants to go to because there are litigators and then there are what's called actual trial attorneys. Why? What's the difference? One is a paper pusher. Most prosecutors, paper pushers. You won't see a trial attorney until trial. And generally, they're sitting second chair. Why? Because they're not familiar with your work. And now, here's the next part, too, because I also want you to understand something. I talked about preparation, right? Availability and preparation. Preparation builds confidence. One of the things that allows someone to prepare is I tell you in advance. Been saying this since 2017 when I started my first and second videos. Minimum is 100 hours on every case. It does not matter what the case is. 100 hours, right? That's also where we get the $50,000 from. But again, we're gonna go back. 100 hours, minimum, every case. Doesn't matter what the case is. If you want it done effectively, 8 hours a day is 2.5 weeks. 40, 40, 20. 2.5 weeks. So whenever you would contact me and, oh, I go to court in 2 days. Can you have it done tomorrow? And you're trying to send me $100? Good luck. That's all I can tell you. Because you're not allowing me to help you. That's not help. Because the only thing I can give you is a pack of Band-Aids. If you don't give me time to help you, I can't help you. If you wait on an attorney, they're not going to help you unless you're handing them $50,000 or more. If you're not in a position to do that, you now understand how to help yourself and be self-sufficient. See how all that just kind of mixes in together? Big old bowl of understanding. That's what I'm offering you. Because when we're talking about this, it's understanding how to give you the best chance to win your case. Many of us, I want to actually kind of dive into something real quick because many of us have no real idea what a win is. What is it that we're looking for? Because even in the expectation management, the first question I'm going to ask you is, what is it that you are looking for? What is your idea for justice? Because that sets the foundation. But then I'm going to ask you a second question, because that's going to set up your strategy for doing or obtaining what it is that you're looking for. And it's, what are you willing to lose? What are you willing to sacrifice to get that result? Because those are separate issues. But those are also the things that your lawyer should give to you in the trial management. Because the expectation and trial management are pretty much the exact same thing. They're going to give you an idea of how your strategy is going to be implemented, and also the consequences in doing so. Because understand this, decisions are reserved for the client, including whether to plead guilty, whether to waive the right to a jury trial, whether to testify on one's own behalf, and whether to forego an appeal. All of those are your decisions. So if you're choosing to plead guilty, that's not on your lawyer or attorney. If you are choosing to waive a right, rather alone a jury trial, it is your decision. If you are choosing to testify, that is not always to your advantage, but it's your choice, not your attorney's. Because here's the great part about it. I'm gonna give you a reason why I said that. Because in a RICO trial, all of us had an opportunity to testify on our own behalf, right? Because one of the things that, as a defense attorney, will tell you, anybody worth their weight in gold, assault, or whatever, they're going to tell you a jury needs to hear, one, that you are human. They want to humanize you. It's difficult to convict a human being. That's why they refer to you as defendant. That is also why I made them in a motion in limine. They had to say my name. I humanized myself. Second part of that is I had to make a choice whether I wanted to testify or use my testifying in closing. I didn't want to testify on my own behalf because me getting on the stand opens up my character. You remember we talked about the police, whenever they go to testify, we can then open up their character because they're testifying, and you get to challenge the character of those that are witnessing. See how all this ties in together? But the reason why I did not want my character to be brought in, not because I'm a bad person, oh, he's a drug dealer. No, I've been arrested more than 50 times. And at that point, yeah, it was a lot of violent arrests because they're aggravated assaults and a bunch of other stupid things. No one wants to let someone that they believe has a propensity of violence go home. So the choice to testify on my own behalf, that was a no-go. Had another brother who was also represented by an attorney who was sitting second chair. I'm going to say that one more time. I had another brother who was represented by an attorney. She was sitting second chair. I informed her he's not getting on the stand. Why? Because this bastard had just gotten out of jail when we got arrested. He had many drug charges on his record. He had many violent arrests because, again, I wasn't always by myself during these aggravated assaults. Anyway, but there was also a third. You understand the rule of completion? We had a third brother. He was representing his own interests. He was sitting third chair. This brother had never been arrested. He also understood the context. He had no character blemishes. I'm going to say that one more time. He had never been arrested prior to the RICO. He had no character blemishes. We made them say his name, Elishua, Israel. He got on the stand and testified in his own behalf because of a choice we made, because a jury has to hear that you're innocent. They have to hear the words. Somebody has to say you're innocent. But if you have character blemishes that can be challenged, you don't help your case. This is also one of the reasons why we make those police officers who are on the Brady list worthless, because they're testifying and they're putting their character on trial. And we're requesting Brady information, because now if the DA puts that police officer on the stand and that police officer has character defects, it becomes a malicious prosecution. Whoops. See how all of this now ties together? Because again, during a moment of reflection, I'm going to go back to thank God for giving me this moment of clarity. Because in my moment of clarity, it allowed me to see not only the picture, it allowed me to see the complete picture. Damn, a bigger picture. They allowed me to see the completion. Because many of you, hearing me talk about McCoy v. Louisiana, you never thought I was going to bring it back around to the Brady list. You never thought I was going to talk about prosecutorial misconduct. You never thought I was going to talk about feelings, stress, pressure, decisions. And at no point should you or could you have believed at any point I was going to be speaking on self-reliance, cognitive relations, making conscious decisions for yourself. I think in some instances they call that king making. Putting you in positions to succeed, king making. And also understanding, showing the queens how to move. I'll let y'all catch that in a minute, because that's why I'm talking chess. This is chess. The entire strategy depends on the ability to cognitively relate beyond simplicity. Yes, that's why it's called relation. Well, we're going to do this in relation to that, because it's all connected. But let's move on, because you know what, y'all gonna get me. Let me get a little swiggy swig, because I want you to understand this is where we separate. This is the separation, and it's not a separation of physicality. It's a separation of mentality. Because again, it's your mind that bend, not the spoon. You can't bend the spoon, that's impossible. But I can change your mind. The battle we're going for now is your cognitive relations and your ability to apply. No yet, your boy got some water today. Actual H2O. Thank you, Voss. This is the mineral water. This is not the distilled. This is sparkling. Because your boy has been eating spinach and kale. Anyway, when we're going through the autonomy to decide that the objective of defense is to assert innocence. It belongs in the reserved for the client category. The autonomy to decide that the objective of the defense is to assert innocence. It belongs in the reserved for the client category. Because you are responsible for you, not your servant, not your assistant. It's not the person who's making the choice for you. And if you are allowing that, notice the words, the verbiage that I'm using in the context of all of this. You are the most powerful part of all of it. You have to give up power in order for someone to assert it over you. You have to give up power to allow someone else to assert it over you. Because even whenever you heard me talk about the speeding ticket, one of the things we talked about was Viet armis, by force of arms, because we understood Latin in law. Latin is what moves the courts. But did we learn the application of it? We don't use Viet armis every time we do something, but there is a time for Viet armis, by force of arms. It's a time for the reservation of rights. But you have to understand when to reserve those rights. And then you also have to understand what those rights are. And then you have to understand how to enforce those rights. Notice all of these are your responsibilities. These aren't the responsibilities of others, because if you're asking someone else to fight for you, there is no fight in you. And just like I talked the other day, I talked about the what is that? The fight in the dog. If there's no fight in the dog, it doesn't matter about the fight itself. That dog is going to lose. Whether big or small, if there is no fight in you, you're going to lose. If you're going to just allow situations or to just succumb to circumstance. I'm poor, so that's why they're doing it. Absolutely. Oh, I'm a young black male. That's what it, absolutely. You're right. You're 100% right. What are you going to do about it? Oh, I'm a female. Absolutely. That's why they're doing it. All the excuses that you come up with why they're doing it, you're 100% correct. My question to you is, what are you going to do about it? Because when we're talking about the responsibility of self, defending yourself, the idea of defending yourself, your own being, you defending you. I actually said it wrong earlier. So it's YDU. YDY? Yeah, there. YDY instead of DDY. Anyway, YDY. You defending you. Understanding where that comes from, because it's your decision. You decide how you move. You decide if you move at all. You decide if you even sit down at the table. This choice isn't up to anybody else. It's yours. Many of us don't want that responsibility. We don't want to look the devil in the eye. We don't want to stand at the face off because they'll see who we are. They'll know they got me right where they want me. My greatest fear is sitting here at my lap. But what is it whenever you're willing to the man that stands for nothing will fall for everything? Because if you allow fear to dictate your life, you have no life worth living. I can go through all these little stupid colloquialisms all night long. But at the end of the day, I'm not just trying to touch your soul. I'm not just trying to grab your ear. I'm not just trying to hold you up and tell you it's okay. It's scary as hell. This is the shit legends are made of. I want you to understand, do you think it was easy to listen to a prosecutor hand you an indictment book of 108 counts, just page after page after page of counts against you? You're looking at this list of people who's going to testify against you, many of them that you believe are your friends, and then say, yeah, the deal is 20 years per count, and I'm supposed to plead to that. I'm supposed to be okay with that. You think I'm not afraid of that? Regardless of the damn the change of venue. Let's go, because the only way you can beat me is to steal it from me. I said that because that's what I was afraid of. I said that not to boost anybody. I said that because that's what was in me. I gave life to that. You can't beat me unless you do something that you normally do. But now you have to do it in front of the world. You can't beat me because I'm prepared. You cannot beat me because I have no more fear left. I had only anger. I was a full-fledged monster. That monster cost me my marriage. That monster cost me time with my children. That monster cost me everything I was willing to give up. I got everything I wanted, but I had to give up everything I had. And I was willing to do it. I'm going to say that one more time. That monster, looking the devil in the eye, I was willing to lose everything. I even told John Melvin, I'm going to take everything you believe you love. Guess what? I have to give up everything I love in order to do that. But I looked the devil in the eye because I was willing to do it. And when I won, I lost everything. I lost my children. I lost my wife. I lost everything I believe made me happy. And many will ask me, if you did that and you went into it knowing that would happen, would you do it again? Abso-fucking-lutely. I am driven by anger. Because even whenever I told you that I no longer fight my demons, I made a deal with them. I'm willing to, an eye for an eye, I'm willing to lose my eye to get yours. When you ask me, what would you do in this? I'm a hammer. Everything looks like a nail to me. If you aren't willing to literally lose everything, if that's not on the table, because best believe, in order to win in certain situations, you're going to have to lose everything. What are you willing to sacrifice? I took responsibility for everything about my life at that point. And I had to give up the life I had at that point to get everything I wanted. Let that sink in. I want you to understand what I just said. I told someone, in order for you to beat me. I'm willing to go in the mud with you. I'm going to take from you everything you believe you love. In order for me to have done that, I had to lose everything I love to do it. And I would do it every time. I would make the exact same decision every time. Many people have heard me talk about the stories where, I'll start from zero. Zero doesn't scare me. Because I understand zero is still a positive because I'm above ground. I can always progress. I can't go backwards. When I accept it, that's when I'm done. What are you willing to lose? Because I was willing to lose everything. That was part of I had to mentally, I called my brother, Mr. Get Your 12. And he told me, you've been sitting in there. This is what you were born for. This is showtime. This is time for you to perform. Rather, I understood, even in this, the autonomy of decisions is not only the decision that you're making, it's the accepting of the consequence once that decision is made. But here's the flip side of that. You're also accepting the consequence if the decision is not made. Many of us don't even look at that. Because whether a decision is made, there's a consequence. If there's a decision that's not made, there's a consequence for that. Because when we're dealing with this, we forget that either way there's a consequence. When you're looking for control and even acceptance, it's better to accept a choice than than to actually just accept what's given. I'm going to say that one more time. Many of us would rather get a present that we choose versus one that someone just hands us. Because that's how we should look at it. I'd rather go to the store and buy what I want than wait on somebody and hope they're giving me what it is I want. Because that's exactly what you're doing, whether you're making a decision to defend yourself or you're accepting the defense someone else is giving you. There's still a consequence. There's an acceptance. Because I was told, even in sales, whether you sell someone or someone sells you, on every call that there's a sale. And what happens is they're either going to sell you, they can't buy, or you're going to sell them. And they're going to either be happy with it or they're going to find a way to get out of it. Because one of the things I actually used to love, I hated selling over the phone. And my boss used to say, well, you're really good at it. I said, okay, cool, whatever. I said, but I'm better in person because I'll do this less. Because I'll make 50 calls to sell, 4 ADT systems, right? That's 50 calls. I would knock on 5 doors to sell the exact same amount of ADT systems. Why? Because it's difficult to look me in the eye and tell me no. Because I play on the ideals of human nature. Because even something as simple as a compliment, I get people to talk about their favorite subject, which is themselves. Because even me, I actually use me a lot in a lot of these examples. Why? Because I know me. I'm actually proud of the dumb shit I've done. And I take pride in it because that dumb shit is what has made me today. If I change any of it, I change me. If I don't accept any of it, I don't accept me. And if you haven't noticed, I'm a little selfish. I love me. If you haven't noticed, I love me. So there's nothing about me I would change, except I wish I was a little bit taller. Wish I was a baller. Anyway, but understanding is the absolute accepting of what it is that's coming for you and taking control of you. And I hate you're taking control of your own destiny. But that's also strategy. Because I think what it is, we've gone into a society where everybody thinks everything is easy or should be handed to you. When in fact, if it's easy, it's probably worthless. I'll get back to you. Because, give you another fact. Many of these podcasts, they're heard all over the world, whatever. My podcasts are my least donated on features. Anything I give you, nobody listens to the podcast. Even though people have asked me, I would like a longer podcast. Could you do the podcast longer? I give you longer podcasts. No one supports except for one person that shows appreciation every month, has been showing it for the past 20 months, almost 2 years. And the context of it is one person out of literally millions of downloads has found value in my podcast. I'm going to say that one more time. One person out of virtually millions of downloads have found value in this podcast. But should I dumb down for my audience so I can double my dollars? I'll let you catch on to that. But here's the thing though. When we don't see value in something, we look at it as worthless. Somebody puts on a suit and charge you $2,000 to do nothing. I show you they're doing nothing. You then have a problem sending me anything. I'm supposed to work for free, but the person you gave $2,000, no question, did nothing. You found value in a suit, not in the actual freedom. I'm going to say that one more time. You find value in a suit, not in the actual freedom. But when we're looking at this and we're going through this and you're asking the question, why are you doing it this way? Why are you saying it that way? It's because even in that, you have a choice. You are the most powerful person in that courtroom. Because the police works for you. The DA speaks for you. The defense does as you are directing them. And the judge is voted in by you to be a neutral party. And when I put it in your lap, you throw it back because you don't see it. You don't want it. Because you would rather not accept it. Because you'd rather complain about it than actually do something about the system itself. Because the system tells you that falls in the stay with the client. It's reserved for the client category. And it's something as simple as asserting your right to be innocent until proven guilty. That's your right. You have to choose that. And even when I tell you, you have the right to do it in writing, because any right that's given up must be done in writing. So therefore, any right that's being exercised must be done in writing. So whenever you are standing in the parking lot with your hands behind your back yelling, I know my rights, they know you don't. Because again, one of the things I learned from Jay-Z is you don't argue with a fool, because at a distance, nobody can tell who's who. That's why I've only said a couple of things when I got there and I watched responses. I didn't get arrested every time I was stopped. I even talked about that. But I also learned I can't argue with a fool, because at a distance, no one can tell who is who. Because, just to give you an example, one day I'm sitting up here and I'm arguing with my nephew. He's 3 years old. His mom said, why do you keep arguing with this 3-year-old? And I thought about it. Why am I arguing with a 3-year-old? He knows nothing. But then at the same context, why am I arguing with someone with an IQ below 107? Because no one can tell who's the fool from a distance. Am I the fool for arguing, or the fool for participating in the argument? So whenever I know, and knowing is half the battle, I have to understand the decision is mine wholly. I'm going to accept the responsibility of me, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be, if I lose, I'm going to lose on my terms. If I'm going to be sitting in a jail cell, it's not going to be because some idiot did something and I sat by and allowed it to happen. Because even when I talked about this, most people shunned it. Now I'll give you a little bit more depth, a little bit more context, a little bit more oomph. I want to see who denies me now.